Our next question comes from Gala from Zagreb. She asks, what can we expect when coming to the border with an O-1?
Okay, so generally, when you arrive in the US, everyone is asked, everyone who's seen this, who's traveled to the US, knows that the question you have to answer is what's the purpose of your visit? Now, for O-1 visa holders, so if you're employed by a single company, it's fine to say, I'm coming to work for my company either for the first time or I'm coming to continue my work for the company that's sponsoring my O-1. Or for agency-based O-1 visa holders who work for multiple people, you would also say, I'm coming back to continue my work. But if you're asked more specifically about the companies you're going to be working for, you should be able to answer which companies you'll be working for and what projects you'll be working on. And I know, we all know in the entertainment industry, sometimes there are gaps between projects. However, when you're traveling, you need to be clear that you are employed and that there is some project that you're working on.
Okay. So Tali asks, does high engagement for social media count as press? Example, viral Instagram post? And then her second question is, if I already have an O-1, is the approval rate for the renewal higher than with the first application?
Okay, so the first question, does social media count as press in the eyes of USCIS? So up until now, we do not have any indication that they're accepting social media as press coverage. They have not actually published anything about how they regard social media and how it meets the O-1 or EB-1 criterion. So generally, sometimes we can use social media for various things, but not usually to represent press coverage of a person. And the second part, let's see. So renewals generally are going to receive fewer requests for additional evidence than initial filings. So even though legally a 3-year O-1 renewal should be treated exactly the same way as an initial filing, in reality, most people that are approved once will continue to be approved, without too many questions asked.
Okay, so this question comes from A. While waiting for green card through marriage, can I at the same time apply for an O-1?
So yes, you can, though sometimes it sounds complicated to have different kinds of cases going on at the same time. You absolutely can in many circumstances. So yes, if you have a green card case going on through marriage, you can still apply for and be approved for an O-1 while that marriage-based green card process is ongoing.
Okay, and Luke asks, as a songwriter, are there minimum requirements you would say are needed to be accepted for an O-1? Predicting work for 3 years in advance can be tough. Do you have any recommendations on how to approach this?
Okay. So the first question, what do you need to get approved for an O-1 as a songwriter? So in general, you have to show that you have a record of success in your field as a songwriter, so that you've written songs that have had some kind of success, whether it's charts, whether it's sales, whether it's performance by distinguished artists. Those are the things that are coming to me off the top of my head. Whatever other distribution or visibility your work might have, whether it might be used in TV shows or advertising. You have to show that you have some kind of recognition within the field, whether it's through awards, the commercial success of your projects, press or media coverage about you. The second part, I forgot what the second part of the
Predicting
question
work for
was.
3 years in advance can be tough.
Yes,
Do you have
absolutely.
any recommendations? That is tough.
It is absolutely tough. Look, it's a requirement that the government requires. From their perspective, they don't want anyone here with an employment visa that they don't feel confident will actually be working. So, we have to all make sure that when we ask for a visa, if it's for the maximum time an O-1 can be issued of 3 years, we have to give them some kind of list of projects or work that you might be working on during that time. So different industries, there are different tasks and different ways to cover the time. songwriters, maybe you have a publishing contract that requires you to deliver a certain number of songs within a certain amount of time. Maybe you're working with a producer, a musician, a band. And so if there's any kind of, projected work lined up, hopefully we can, all work together to make it cover the time that we need for the application.
All right, and Abby from Queens asks, does the Trump administration have the potential power to cancel the student's visa category at all? Seems that is where the Trump administration is heading towards.
So they do not have the authority to eliminate the existence of the student visa, but they do have the power, they have executive power to suspend visa issuance for national security purposes. So it won't be eliminated, but who it's issued to and under what circumstances can certainly be influenced by the administration.
Okay. Nosley asks, how will O-1 applications be interviewed by the current administration?
Yeah, I wish I knew the answer to that. So up until now, the reports I've received from my clients are that the O-1 interviews basically continue as normal. So I haven't gotten reports of any unusual questions or notices from the embassies. Generally when an O-1 applicant goes to their consular interview, they're going to be asked about what they plan to work on in the U.S. And so, whoever you'll be working for, whatever projects you'll be working on, you should be prepared to talk about that. You should also be able to speak to your achievements up until that point. So the basis that qualifies you for the O-1, it's possible that some of those things can come up in the interview. So you should be able to answer any of those questions about your past work and achievements.
Okay, and the last one, Ching from New York asks, I'm a full-time artist, but my work is not in the art market yet. I don't have regular income. How can I apply for an EB-1?
Okay. Well, so in terms of the regular income, many artists and creatives don't necessarily have regular income. People are paid as the work comes up and they complete the gigs. So the infrequency or not infrequency, the non-regular nature of the payment is not a barrier to EB-1 if you can show that when you do get paid, you are paid an amount that is high compared to your peers. Now, however, I think the first part of the question said your art is not in the market. So that could be a little more difficult just because for the EB-1, they do want you to show that you're working at the top of your field. You mentioned you're an artist, you didn't really mention what kind of artist you are, but if you're a fine artist that has work displayed in galleries, generally having sales and being able to show sales would be an important part of an an EB-1 green card application under those circumstances. So I feel like we have to talk so I can get more information, but generally, if you're a fine artist applying for an EB-1, showing some kind of sales, showing your work is in the market would normally be part of that kind of application.
So that's all of the questions we have.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.